Welcome to Couples Academy Live. Today, we're talking about the fact that you are so full of, you can fill in the blank. Matter of fact, we're going to help you fill in the blank starting now.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
And we are Couples Academy, and we're here for another great morning. But today is a unique day because for us in our home, in our household, it is the first day of school. That's right. We have been waiting all summer for this day. And then you realize, you know what? When school starts and the kids are back in school, we can get to work again. But then you realize, wait a minute. We have to go to school with our kids because the way school works is there's so much work we have to do. And I'm saying we, but really you have been the main foundation, the main instructor, the main support system in this whole process, dealing with 4 girls, 4 different ages, 4 different grades. You've done an amazing job.
Well,
and just to see them over there, getting their work in, you made this happen.
Well, thank you, babe.
Well, you know, the pandemic has really shifted things, and now that we're going into a digital age and now they're in a virtual school, there was a whole lot of work that you had to do to get them prepared for that. So I just want to honor you for being who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was thinking about how the first day of school, usually I have a post, and it's so funny because I'm like at the park swinging on the swings. I'm busting out of the school doors like, yes. I'm on the bus stop and I'm like, deuces. And all the moms are feeling the same way, like, whoo, I'm done. Not this year. This year, it's a whole nother ball game. And actually, you spend the end of the summer shopping for school supplies and clothes and things of that nature. And though I didn't have to do as much of that, there was definitely a lot of prep involved in getting them situated. So they're right over there, not too far from us, getting their schoolwork in, and just the beginning of a hopefully easy, breezy, hopefully the teachers with the homeschool are on their game and we can get through this. But today we are talking about Enneagram. Interesting. And I think it's a good time to talk about it because we deal with each other every day. We're dealing with personalities when it comes to our kids too. There's a lot of things that you can learn from each other. And here's the deal. One thing I've noticed as we've been working with couples and dealing with the Enneagram is that most folks don't come to us and they're good to go. Like they don't come to us very, very, very healthy versions of themselves, right? It's not like they call Couples Academy and say, hey, I'm doing just fine. Wanted to let you know, can we like just hang out? Like that doesn't happen. Most of the time people are going through, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's why they come to us.
So they're expressing at some of the lower levels of their personality styles, and that is playing a major part in the relationship. Now, that has nothing to do doesn't necessarily have anything to do with whatever crisis you're in. Some of this stuff we brought with us. Our Enneagram personality styles are shaped when we are very small. We call them the grain of sand, which is the pearls, right? So the way we explain this is that a pearl is created inside of a clam that got a little grain of sand in there. And that grain of sand agitates the clam so much to the fact that it starts to cover it with mother of pearl. And that mother of pearl coats it. And next thing you know, you have this beautiful pearl. It wasn't the clam's intention to create a pearl for you, for jewelry, even though now they will like put grains of sand inside clams to make jewelry, which is a whole nother thing. But no, it was actually trying to coat that grain of sand, that agitation. Well, we have the same mechanism working for us in our heart, in our spirit, okay? When we were little, before we could say a word, before we could make a decision, somehow we were made to feel a certain way, and it was an agitation. And as we grow up, we coat our grain of sand by moving against it, right? So if we felt insecure, we move towards security. That's how we move against our feeling of insecurity, right? Sometimes if we felt less than, or we had low worth in our life, we felt like we didn't have enough money, or we grew up poor, we're gonna move against that by being successful and reaching the top of our game, you know? So this is how we operate. And sometimes because of life and other stresses, we just are not operating at our best selves.
Now, for those who are hearing you use the word Enneagram, they're thinking, well, are you speaking in tongues? Like, what is an Enneagram?
Yeah.
So unpack what that even means.
I'm going to unpack what that is while you go get the UPS man.
See, this is what we do.
Okay. So, Enneagram is a personality typing system. It is the study of human nature. It's been around for decades. Actually, it's been around for centuries. And it's actually just emerging more so. You're probably hearing about it in church than ever before. Before Enneagram, you would hear a lot about Myers-Briggs. They would do this in church, and even temperament. What I love about Enneagram is that unlike many of the other personality style systems like this, it does not just say, hey, this is who you are and this is how you're stuck. You're going to be like this for the rest of your life. It's not like that. Even though you are who you are, there are the healthy version of yourself that we want to raise to. We want to develop to the healthiest version of ourselves and not stay operating in our less resourceful versions of ourselves. So that's what I love about it. It's like it's like it shows you the box that you're in, because we're all in a box, right? Then it says, okay, get outside this box, look at your box, see yourself, see how you are making conflict in the world, and then get out of your box and maybe change your box. Maybe paint some different colors and stripes on your box to become the best version of yourself. So that's what Enneagram is, and that's what I love about it, is that I don't have to stay at my weaker self. I could look to, okay, here are the strengths. This is what God put in me. This is who I'm supposed to be. Let me obtain that. So just like we have other goals in life, we can actually obtain the highest version of ourselves, okay? And discovering what that is just so cool.
And Stephen even says, yes, becoming the healthiest version of yourself. That's the goal. Like, if we could become the best us that we can be, it translates into having the best relationship that we could ever have
with our spouses and with everyone, right? Because you take you everywhere you go.
Boom.
So the reason why we named this You're Full of It is because Hassani, the other day, we were talking about different personality styles, and one of the personality styles, Hassani was just like, oh, they're just so full of this, they're so full of that. And I was just like, oh, well, what are you full of? That's what I was thinking.
See how she thinks? Immediately it comes right back to me.
But you know what? Not true, because then I thought, oh, what am I full of? Because we're all full of something, right? We are all full of something. And this is why we can't really point the finger at each other, because there are 4 fingers pointing back at you. So I want to start with saying this, that I wanted to talk about some of the less resourceful characteristics today. There are higher characteristics. There are great qualities with every type. Great qualities. Your style is needed in the world. But each personality style also has negatives. And I want to talk about that because you might be seeing these show up in your relationship, and you need to know where it's coming from, and you need to know you don't need to stay there, okay? So let's start with ones, okay? Ones typically, when they're not their most resourceful self, are full of self-righteousness. And the reason for that is because ones, in their healthiest versions, they're supposed to be the do-gooders. They do good. But when they are not healthy, they start to do bad things, not bad things, but not operate in their best self and become nitpicky, right? So it's almost like the plank in the eye example. Like, I've got a huge plank in my eye, but I'm trying to pick the little speck out of your eye. And that's how ones can come across. Usually they're the one that wants to do the right thing. They believe a lot of them are heavily spiritual, and they just have ideals, you know, you should not kill the whales. You know, ones are going to be out there trying to save the whales and things like that. Or a one is going to be the one that is like the crossing guard and doesn't want you to jaywalk, right? Right. But when they become unhealthy, then they're jaywalking and saying, hey, what are you doing? You know?
Right.
So I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it. Anyway, so that's a one. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that whole self-righteous thing it's a problem, because to your point, a lot of times a person who's self-righteous is guilty of the very thing that they're accusing or pointing out in the other person. And so they're seen as the hypocrite. And it's just like, Joker, how dare you? Like, have you seen you? Have you looked in the mirror? Have you checked yourself? But yet you want to look at me and talk about what I'm doing.
But it's challenging for that one, when they're at that unhealthy place, to see that they are doing the same thing. They will have excuse after excuse. Yeah, well, I'm doing it too. I'm doing it because it's helping this person. But you're doing it. You're doing the wrong thing that you're pointing out to me, but you're doing it because in a better way, right? So it's harder for them to see that. And that's just something to look out for. If you know that you're a one, if your spouse is constantly saying things to you like, you are such a hypocrite, you're so full of it, what it is self-righteousness. It's that you can't see your own flaws. You can only see the flaws of others.
So they condemn the other person for doing something, but justify why they do it themselves.
Yes.
So when you do it, it's because you're reckless and you're bad and you're no good.
Correct.
I did it because of circumstances and situations.
Yes.
That's
Boom.
a problem.
Boom. Let's jump on. Let's say hi to some folks before we move on, because I'm about to get on a roll.
So good morning, everyone.
Hey.
We want to say good morning to Ken.
Hey.
And then we also have Sifiso from South Africa. Good to see you. We also have Vashan. Good morning.
Hey there.
We have Renard. Many people are just listening because they're getting so much content out of this. Keep on with your flow.
So number 2, personality style 2, they can be full of resentment. Now, I know that might sound like an oxymoron if you're on here and you're like, hold up, I'm a 2. I'm a loving person, because 2s are the loving person. Well, the thing is that when 2s are giving and pouring out so much love, which they tend to do all the time. 2s tend to be very much self-sacrificing and the type of person that will fall on the sword for everyone else. They neglect themselves. But when they get to the point where people have taken so much advantage of them and nobody has turned around and said, how are you doing? Or checked on them, when they have poured out and they're pouring out of an empty cup, they can become resentful. They can even become very resentful when people start saying, no, I don't need your help too. I got this. So 2s don't understand that sometimes people actually don't need your help. Sometimes people actually got this. Like, been around the block a couple times, know what they're doing. But 2s are so determined to help. They feel that they're the one that can solve the problem, that if you turn them down, they could take that internally and be resentful about it. Yeah.
So full of resentment.
Full of resentment, yes. And that's because they want to help. They want to be a helpful person. But what they struggle with when they're at their lesser resourceful self is self-care. So there's no self-care. It's all pouring out. It's all sacrificing. It's all putting their stuff on the back burner for somebody else. And so they get to a point where they're like 10, 20 years later, and I've done everything for everyone. I gave up my college. I gave up my career. I gave up what I wanted to do. I stopped working out. I did all these things for everyone else. And now look at my life.
So if a person struggles with resentment, is that coupled with bitterness and unforgiveness too? Like, is that all... Is that separate, or is it all? I think
bitterness and unforgiveness are the cousins of resentment, right? You kind of can't operate with resentment and not have both of those as well.
Yeah, it's true when we work with couples. There are certain couples who really, really, really struggle with forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's painstaking for them, and I'm assuming that this resentment
for
is tied
2s,
to that.
it could be a challenge, and it's not like it's not a challenge for other types. It's not necessarily what you're doing. It's why you're doing it, right? So it's all about the why. With 2s, the reason why they would become resentment is because they've poured out to everybody else and nobody's poured back into them, or they haven't allowed people to pour back into them. So that's why they would feel resentment. So let's move on to 3s, okay?
And what about the people who have no clue what their number is?
They need to reach out.
This is all new to them.
Yeah, we'll show an ad, but they need to reach out and get their assessment, because this is so useful in your relationships, with your spouse and with your children and with your coworkers. Just knowing yourself. There's certain anxieties that you walk around with in life. They've gotten on your nerves your entire life. You don't know why you can't drop them. You don't know why you can't shake them off. You say, this time I'm not going to do this. This time when I go into the environment, I'm going to do this. And every time the anxiety comes upon you. Well, it's your personality style that you need to understand so that you can own it. And then you would know the path to seek strength in those areas. But if you don't know yourself, then there's no way that you can seek any strength.
Bobby says, speak the truth. And Sonia says, Lord, deliver me.
All right.
So people are starting to realize, we are full of a whole lot of stuff.
Yes. So let's talk about 3s. 3s can be very much full of self. And that could be ego, just very egocentric. And why is that? That's because the 3 is trying to be the best. The 3 is trying to win, trying to conquer, trying to overcome every obstacle and be at the top. And so as a result of that, they can tend to put their blinders on and not see anything else. They can neglect family, they can neglect health, they can neglect everything that is in the way of their accomplishment. And so people around them that love them will say that you're so selfish, you're so self-centered, you're so egotistical, it's not about you. And they're also seeing types, so they need to be seen as successful, and that could play out in the relationship.
Yeah, and so is this where the whole idea of being narcissistic comes from, where you are all about you? Like you look at life through your personal lens and how it benefits you, and if you're not being benefit, then you're not going to partake in it.
Absolutely. I mean, being a narcissist is an actual diagnosis, which most people do not go and get diagnosed. And so, and it's, it's an actual mental disorder being a narcissist. However, there's a lot of horrible stuff leading up to being a narcissist that nobody wants to deal with, like somebody who is just self-centered and egotistical and showy and boastful. And those are the characteristics of somebody who is accessing their less resourceful characteristics of 3.
Now, when you say less resourceful, that implies that there's a more resourceful
Yes, that
aspect
implies,
of that number?
Yes, you can take this test and find out where you are in the spectrum, right? You are who you are. So if you're a 2, you're a 2, okay? And you might be experiencing yourself pouring out to the end. Well, let's find out where you are on the spectrum of health so that we could get you to a stronger version of yourself, so that you're not exhausted, so that you're not feeling drained, and you're not leading yourself to all these negative emotions.
Actually, Sonia says, sounds like you're talking about me. I am definitely a 2. I found myself being a little resentful for that exact reason. Thank God he taught me how to forgive, and he's helping me to set free from being resentful.
Good. Thank the Lord for that. And see, that's the thing. You don't have to stay there. Like we're always thinking, okay, first of all, that we've got the Lord on our side. If we got the Lord on our side, we know we can go to him. But here's the other thing. How many people do you know that have been praying for years and years that the Lord would deliver them from something, and he has not done it yet? Okay? Yet. I didn't say he ain't going to do it, but yet. So there's a lot of this that is on your shoulders. You have to become responsible for yourself. He's not going to just do everything for you. He's not going to do all the heavy lifting. He might actually present a presentation like this to you through through a couple, and this might be God's olive branch to you to find out where you are so that you can work on yourself. So thanks for sharing that.
A lot of people are like, why am I the way that I am? Like, I know I have issues
Right.
and I'm trapped in my own self.
Haven't
I
we
want to
all?
break free. I want to be better, but I just don't know how or what to do.
Yeah, I think have you thought that?
I think
thought
we
that.
all have thought
like,
that.
I think we've all thought that about our stuff. And when we do Enneagram, a lot of times I could see a person squirming in the seat when I start talking about some of the average characteristics of their type, and they hate it. Right? Because you've been hating it your whole life. And you've been warring against it your whole life. And it is a core of your personality. It just might be unhealthy right now. Right? So let's go to 4s. 4s are full of drama. Now, right? All the housewives of Atlanta, I think, are 4s.
Oh, Lord.
Now, let me just qualify that. When they're at their less resourceful self, 4s can be very dramatic. They can be very emotional about things. The sky is falling down kind of a person, because they're trying to express themselves uniquely. They want to be different. They don't want to be like anybody else. As a matter of fact, it's not so much that they don't want to be like anybody else. They truly believe that there is nobody like them, that God broke the mold when they made them. And so they can tend to be incredibly dramatic. They're the ones that will cry and yell and fuss and do all these things to look and stand out and step outside the box. And like I said, every personality style has its weaknesses and has its strengths. And there are some real beautiful strengths with 4. They are the creative types. They're the ones that are going to make spaces beautiful and unique. They're the eccentrics of the world, but they can tend to bring drama in your world when they are not healthy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And drama's never good in a relationship, because the last thing you want is war, conflict, adversarial, back and forth, contention. You want peace. Like, at the end of the day, everybody wants peace. You want to come home to a place where you can rest your head, and your home is your solace, it's your safe place. And so if you're not bringing peace into your household, then maybe you need to work on becoming your best self. So a 4 doesn't have to remain trapped in their drama.
No.
And so one thing that
they're always going to be drama now. Everybody's always going to be that. But we could take that drama and make it more resourceful, right? It doesn't have to cause a negative impact on those around you when you learn yourself, right? It's all about self-governing, okay? You can't ever undo who you are. But when you are wrapped up in the negative qualities of yourself, it impacts everybody else around you negatively, right? You can become conscious of that and almost tame the beast within, and that's the goal.
So if you become the best version of you, a person who's dramatic, you're saying there's a possible positive outward demonstration of that dramaticness. If
Absolutely.
I could make up a term, dramaticness, being dramatic,
Right,
it doesn't always have to be negative.
What do you always say about the grape?
Oh, right. A grape can be used for medicinal purposes. A grape can be used for its nutritional value, but that same grape, given a certain spin and given a certain twist, can be used to do great harm. So it's not what you use, it's how you use what you use, and not where you get it from.
If I'm using my drama against you, I'm angry with you, and I'm using it as a valve release for my own frustration, is that positive?
No.
If I'm using my drama to create a beautiful atmosphere and experience for people, is that a positive experience?
Yes.
So that's what we're talking about.
So it's knowing your power and using your powers for good and not evil.
I mean, okay. Sounds like a superhero, but all right.
I'm saying.
Let's go to the next one. We're talking about Enneagram types now and the personality styles that show up when we are at our less resourceful state. And we're going to go to 5. And 5s are full of, analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis, okay? Now here's the deal. 5s tend to be the one in the room that do not speak, right? They are quiet, they are reserved, and it's hard to get them to express. But it's not that they're not thinking. They are thinking, they are processing. As a matter of fact, 5's brains are moving at 1,000,000 miles a minute. But for some reason, they struggle to actually articulate what their thoughts are into words. It takes them quite a bit of time because they're analyzing. They have a tendency when they're not at their most resourceful level to go to the deep, dark recesses of their imagination. It's where they feel safe and where they feel comfortable. So this might be hard to understand for somebody who is outgoing, who is a people person, right? Where you just get energy from people. You need to be around. You need to be in the crowd. You hate going to an empty, quiet restaurant. If you are that person, you will not understand how a 5 can tend to love solitude, quiet, and to do mind-numbing activities so that they can have peace, right? Well, in that regard, they tend to have this analysis paralysis. They're thinking, but they don't quickly take action.
Wow. Okay. So they're constantly in their head. They are the communication for them is a challenge.
Very much so.
And so when you're trying to get something out of a 5, it's just like pulling teeth.
Yes.
And it's like, it's a journey.
It's a journey for them. And they have to actually be willing to embark upon the journey because for them, if they don't feel a sense of competency in what they're doing, they will just pull back. They don't have no interest in participating in something that they don't have full competency in. And that's why you'll have a 5 who is like married and they have nothing to say at home because maybe they have marital issues and, you know, the wife or the husband, whoever it is, you know, belittling them in certain areas. They're not good in fixing things around the house. They're not good at the home. But then they'll go out with their friends and they're talking about cars and the person is so competent and you get an earshot of your spouse talking about cars and you're like, dag, he sure know how to talk to everybody else. It's because he's competent when it comes to cars, right? If they find a place of confidence and competency, that's when they'll come out of that analysis paralysis.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. You want to share something?
This is all good. No, this is all good.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. So now we're going to go to 6. Okay. 6s are full of insecurity. Okay. So how does that look? 6s tend to need a lot of self or a reassurance from those around them. They struggle with self-doubt and they just need reassurance. Okay. It goes back to the same piece in the beginning. Somewhere along the line, they felt insecurity. They felt a lacking of self-worth. And so they need other people to check in on them and make sure that they know they're good enough. And obviously the path for that person would be to find out that they're good enough through the Lord. Okay, that's really the path for all. But yes, 6s pretty much they deal with insecurity and self.
So the insecurity comes from things from their childhood, previous experiences.
It's an accumulation. The personality style starts as a young baby, like a small child, right? But think about all the experiences that you have throughout life that sort of confirms your internal grain of sand, that belief, right? we somehow we tend to attract to us that thing anyway. Whatever our insecurity is, it's almost like there's a magnifying glass that we see it everywhere we go. So if I have a fear, if I have self-doubt issues, then every time I walk into a room, I doubt myself, and I have these ideas in my head about people who are judging me, and it's all in my head. It's my lens, right? And that's really what it is. They have a lens of needing security, needing somebody to reaffirm and confirm them.
So is it not just insecurity in oneself which causes them to show up in a particular way? Does it also contribute to trust issues? Possibly within their relationship,
I'm sure.
or is it somewhat different?
I think
because I'm learning as you're teaching. I'm learning along with you all about these Enneagram numbers.
Yeah, I think it could. I mean, they're just a questioning type, right? And their questioning is surrounding the idea of, I want to be sure, I want to confirm, I want to double check that this is safe, that this is secure before I move forward. It's more so.
Gotcha.
That.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to go to 7s.
And listen, guys, if you're learning something right here, like if you're hearing something you've never heard before, or if it's confirming certain things in your life, we want to hear from you. Like, jump in the chat. Let us know if you're getting something out of this. If you have any questions, now's the time to get it in. All right, we're on number 7.
7s are full of avoidance. Now, this is the deal with 7s. 7s are trying to enjoy life and have a good time. They do not like to be surrounded by negativity, by bitterness, and by sadness. And so, the interesting thing about 7s is that they tend to be adventurous people. Like, they're the ones that you see jumping out of planes and doing crazy things. But at the core of their grain of sand, they're actually trying to avoid pain, but it's emotional pain. And that could look there's a whole meridian of things involved in that. Like, emotional pain could be something that you completely created, like avoiding people. I don't want to see this person because they're going to think. And you have no idea what that person's going to think, I just don't feel like doing this. So it's really this avoidance of this emotional struggle, this emotional battle that they have to confront and deal with things that could potentially be painful.
They don't like pain.
They do not like emotional pain.
Emotional
right?
pain.
So you'll see a 7 that's like got tattoos from head to toe, right? It's not about physical pain, right? It's about the emotional pain, like sad things, like funerals, somebody died, or somebody's sad story or something like that that breaks their heart, or seeing a child in pain or something like that they can't do anything about. That's what 7s want to avoid because they're trying to be happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is deep. We have JD. He says, can you be multiple? I'm thinking so far about 5 and 6. And then Stephen says, sounds like I'm a little of every number. So what about that? Is it possible that you can resonate with more than just one number? You
will. If you are a 5, you might resonate with 6 or 7 because whatever your core personality style is, you'll have a wing style that reaches off to either the left or the right, either the upper number or the lower number. And so that kind of is like a lens that is on top of your core personality style. So if you think about going to the 3D movie theater, when you put the 3D glasses on, all of a sudden certain things pop out to you that didn't before. That's what your wing style does for you. So it might soften characteristics of your core personality style or strengthen characteristics of your core personality style, depending on what wing style. And again, as it relates to, I feel like I have some of all of them. The thing is that we all do all these things. It's just our reasons why. And so that's where you're going to see the differences, If my reason for doing something is avoiding pain and the next person's reason for doing something is to be seen as authentic, we're doing the same thing, but we're walking into it with a completely different agenda, and that makes all the difference.
So, for instance, we're about to step into a series we want you to be excited about. We're talking about lying and why people lie. So, for instance, if you're a 3, you may lie for one reason. If you're a 7, you lie for another reason. If you're a 2, you lie for a completely different reason.
Absolutely, Hassani, absolutely.
So it's understanding the motive behind why you do what you do. Let me just break it down.
I forget the numbers that you said, but you said 7. So 7s would lie to avoid pain. 3s would lie to achieve success or win. What was the other number?
I don't know, 1.
1 is going to lie to, 1s are the perfectionists. 1s are going to lie to cover up something that they did because they have the inauthentic thing going on.
Now, you see how she's just flowing with this? It's just off the dome. This is what we call relational intelligence. Like, if you want to have a successful relationship, just think about it. If you want to be good at finances, you have to increase your financial intelligence about things. If you want a healthy relationship, you have to increase your relational intelligence. And what she's unpacking is the Enneagram personality styles and how you show up, how your partner shows up. When you gain a good understanding of who you are and of who your partner is, now you know how to properly navigate and communicate and interact and have something that is long-lasting, mutually beneficial, and successful just by gaining a deep dive understanding of your Enneagram.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, you need to come to Couples Academy and figure out how you can get it. If you know it on a surface level, you need to come to Couples Academy to find out what you don't know so you can take your relationship to the next level. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
I'm reading some of the comments. Thank you, Stephen. 9 will lie to keep the peace. Right on. That answers Kathy's question. So I want to go through the last two. So 8s are anger types. So 8s are full of anger, okay? Now, some would say they're full of rage, but it doesn't necessarily show up like that. But they are. They have this resistance. They have this power. They have this strength that they operate with, because at the end of the day, 8s do not like to be dominated. They do not like to be controlled. They want to be in control. They want to be the conqueror, okay? And so for 8s, anger is under a low level energy that they exist with, and they're very comfortable with it. Right? I mean, they're not trying to be angry. They're very good with being angry.
They're comfortable in
They're
their
comfortable
anger.
in their anger. They own their anger. They will never deny their anger.
You know what's deep about that? You think about a 3. A 3 may deny that he's angry.
That's right.
He could be seething. She could be seething in rage and will deny it. I'm not angry.
Yes.
No, that's not true.
Right.
But a 9 is just like, yep, I'm angry, and
8s.
the world's got to know.
8s, exactly.
8s, excuse me.
It's because they're strong, and they want to dominate, and they want to conquer. Now, some 8 on here might be saying, I don't feel that way. Well, let's look at your wing style. See, that's why it's important for you to get your own assessment. Because if you are an 8 with a wing 7, that might soften that for you. It would soften this idea of strong, and it would be more focused on being lighthearted. You want what you want, but you have a little bit more diplomacy going on for you. If you have a 9, the 8 is strong with the 9 wing, because 9s tend to be avoiders. Now, we're going to go to 9s right now,
All right,
okay?
let's get it.
9s are full of doubt, right? Doubt, and the other thing would be indecisive. 9s tend to be quite indecisive because they are trying to keep the peace, right? And so you might have a 9 that just plays the back row, keeps it quiet, does not move to the forefront because they just want to avoid conflict. So they show up a lot of times as indecisive, and they also show up as passive aggressive. That's probably what I should have said. They're full of passive aggressiveness, okay? Because 9s are also anger types, right? But their anger is hidden and stuffed because they don't want to deal with conflict, right? So what they'll do is they'll do stuff and they'll resent you the whole way. They'll do it with an attitude. They'll mumble and grumble. They might even forget to do what you asked them to do because they really didn't want to do it, because they don't want to be pushed and forced to do anything. So what they'll do is they'll resist and become passive aggressive.
Wow. Don't know how to pronounce your name, but she says, or he, I'm 9 wing 1. I was thinking we wouldn't lie at all because it goes against our principles, LOL.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting is that, first of all, you know, if you get through life without ever lying, then that's a miracle, okay? But you can actually, if you were a more healthy version of yourself, that would be the case. A healthy 9 wing 1 is very full of diplomacy. They are very much a great mediator, diplomatic people. Want to achieve good things in the world, want to highlight the positive and show other people how to. But put that on the negative side. Is anybody a fan of, what is that show that Madison loves? And there's like the Upside Down. It's with that girl. You know,
I have no clue what you're talking about.
It's with the kids. And there's the Upside Down world, and we always want to watch it.
Oh, they're in like the 3rd or 4th season?
Yeah, you don't know it?
I forgot
Whatever.
the name of that.
Anyway, if somebody knows. But think about the upside down version of that.
Yeah.
Right? You're going into passive aggressive and self-righteousness. Boom. That's the negative about it. So think about that. Like, could you imagine that? And you're dealing with that in your relationship because you're unhealthy and you're stressed, and then add a major offense to that. Like somebody offended you, was unfaithful to you. It's now going to exaggerate everything that was negative about you will be exaggerated inside your relationship.
This is some powerful stuff.
The goal is to attain the highest version of yourself. That's literally, what are we here for if we're not doing that? If we just sitting comfortable in our mess, full of it, what are we doing? We should all be trying to strive to be the best version of ourselves.
Now, when you understand who you are, it will help you to understand how you should live your life, how you should function in your relationship. Many of us are bringing a whole lot of mess into our relationship because either we're unaware of who we are or we haven't learned how to control who we are. But when you become the best version of yourself, you interact better and you communicate better.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, we've been talking about your Enneagram personality style, but how does that impact your relationship? How does that impact the way that you communicate? And so this is why, perfect segue, because in a couple of weeks on September 26th, we're going to be talking about the secret to breakthrough communication for couples, more than words. It's a masterclass. It's $197. It's 4 hours of intense content. Now imagine, you got so much in the last 36 minutes. Imagine what you'll get in that class. Now understanding your personality style and your Enneagram number to know how to effectively communicate with your partner is a game changer. And these are the type of things that we do when we work with couples. And so, matter of fact, we just had a couple we worked with a few years ago, and from time to time, we like to show you testimonials of what impact the intensives have had on their lives. And so we want to share this one with you. So we'll be right back.
My name is Robert Kane from Lathrop, California. And we have the luxury and pleasure of having Mr. Asani come into our home and help us through our relationship troubles that we've been having. We spent many of hours with several different therapists that we had zero results with over the past year. And I feel like we've had a quantum leap in just a matter of 3 days that I didn't believe at first we would have this kind of impact. And I feel like we are years ahead, or therapy that would have taken years, we have achieved in 3 days.
My name is Kay Kane. We've been together for 34 years, and last couple of years we've been having trouble, just relationship. So we were just going through the many countless counseling, and we could not get the help that we needed it. And I just happened to see Mr. Hassani on TV, and I decided to call, get some help. So not just our relationship with this short 3 days from 0 to 10, but he really has been our mentor, life coach, I should say. And I cannot be grateful. It's like a God sent us, him to fly from Atlanta, Georgia to California. So this 3 days from now on has been so pleasure that everything he shared with us, taught us. And from today moving forward, he's gonna be with us rest of our life. And just feel so grateful that we met him. And thank you so much, so much. You are our mentor, coach, and I respect you, all your knowledge that you share with us, help us, guiding us. Thank you.
Hey guys, I hope that you got something out of that. There are many of you who are watching saying, you know what? Wow, we want the transformation that all these other couples are having. We just want to take our relationship to the next level. And a major part of that is understanding the Enneagram. So what we want you to do, we're about to close, but if you don't know your Enneagram and you want to know it.
Things. Sorry,
Stranger Things, that's what it was.
Thanks, Mel.
Stranger Things, appreciate that. If you don't know what your Enneagram number is and you want to know what that is, we encourage you to reach out to Couples Academy. Simply go to the website, couplesacademy.org, or you can text or call at 678-200-8996, or simply put in the chat, I want to know my number. That's it, and we'll follow up with you. We hope that you got something out of today. We have a lot of great content that's coming in the days to come. We're excited about where we're going with this platform and look forward to your continual support. We love you guys, and we will see you on tomorrow. Take care.
Can't bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Our love is too high, bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Bring us down, can't nothing bring us down. Our love is too high, bring us down, can't nothing bring us down.